Before we get started, I've heard a lot of questions about the setup I use. So I thought I'd give you all a good look at my effects chain. I use very special equipment. It's kind of expensive. You really need to save up to buy it. These are designed by a guy named Roger Mayer. The man created a lot of Hendrix's sounds. And I'll go through my chain simply from the start. This is the Stone Fuzz. It's an overdrive unit. It's got pretty much just two controls, distortion and volume. That goes into what's called a vision wah. I'm sorry about the reflection right there. As you can see on the bottom, it's got 4 switches, which give it 16 different distinct sounds, from the deepest sort of wah to a very trebly wah. You can adjust it in all sorts of methods. You can get pretty much any kind of wah sound that you can hear on the market today. Also, it doesn't use a potentiometer. Instead, it uses magnetic induction, and in that respect, you won't ever have to swap out a potentiometer. There's also no switch to swap out. I've had crybabies all my life, and there was a lot of problems with them. The switch is always wearing out. I do use the wah quite a lot. I use it like almost like a security blanket sometimes. I like to keep my foot on it even when I'm not using it. The next pedal is called the Voodoo Vibe. Now, this is for single coil pickups. It's an overdrive unit. The Voodoo Bass, rather, has 3 switches. One's gain, one's tone, one's output. The tone is very useful to keep your guitar's natural tone. And then finally, last but not least, is the Voodoo Vibe. Now this is the signature sound that Hendrix got. It's the latest generation of the Univibe created by Roger Mayer. It gives you a swirling Leslie sound. The settings you see there are pretty much the settings I like to use when I'm in concert. There's all sorts of settings. You can also use it as a tremolo device or a vibrato device, something I rarely use it for, but it's a very, very versatile box, and it's what all the other imitators try to sound like. Once again, it's pretty expensive. You need to save up to buy them. Now, it has a stereo out, so you can go to 2 different amplifiers and get a actual stereo sound. Now, let me quickly show you what I use in the way of amplification. I use small amps. I use a Fender Blues Junior. Not a very well designed amp, but it's kind of rugged. You have to be careful with the inputs. They're 18 watts. I use 2 of them. One over here, one way over there. There's about 12-foot separation. When you get them going, you get a really nice sound, a real nice swirly sound. Currently, I only have 2 guitars. They're both vintage guitars. The first one on the top there is a 66 Telecaster neck. That's right, it's a Telecaster neck on a Stratocaster body. I bought the guitar that way, but I've modified it in my own special way. As you can see, it's got a gold anodized pickguard, brass fittings. It's a very nice guitar. It's got a great tone, especially the rhythm pickup. And my latest guitar is a 1965 vintage pre-CBS Stratocaster, rosewood neck, and a very rare color Daphne blue, which I had to take old bicycle paint someone sprayed on it and scrape that off and then have it refinished, recoated. I had it refetted at Flynn Guitars up in Evanston, Illinois. He does a great job. He's a fantastic luthier. It's got a great tone, this guitar. It really needs to be played, and that's why I really wanted to play it. And I could have kept it and just kept it as it was, but I decided that it needs to be heard. The strings I use are nickel plated. It gives you less wear on the frets. I use Darios. They're the XL115s. That goes from an 11 all the way to a 49. They're heavier strings than most people like to use, but the style I play is dependent. It really depends on the tone that you get. So I use the heavier strings. It's a little harder on my wrists, harder on my hands. As you can see, I use blue Tortex picks and Duracell batteries, of course, for my effects boxes. The Tortex picks are 0.1 mil, 1 mil, I'm sorry, and they can stand up to a lot of string scraping, and I find that very useful. If you scrape strings a lot, you'll find that some of the other picks will get pitted. These don't do that, so those are the picks I use. And I think that's my equipment setup pretty much. And if you are interested in any of these items, you could always visit my website. You can see pictures of them and have links to where you can get the Roger Mayer equipment. Check into some of the stuff they have over there. Basically, that's it. That's my setup.